On the surface, the old Georgetown Morgue looks like any other old building in the industrial district south of downtown Seattle. Nothing appears to be out of the ordinary, aside from the annual Halloween festivities that occur there. On the inside, however, the alleged gruesome history of the building continues to captivate the curious and frames what is now considered Seattle's most horrifying unsolved mystery. The Georgetown Morgue was in service for 55 years, opening in 1928 and ultimately closing in 1983. Originally titled Coling Mortuary Services of Seattle, the funeral business saw multiple owners by the time it closed for good. In 1939, Charles and Henry Broughton purchased the morgue and changed the name to Broughton Brothers Funeral Services. The Broughton brothers wanted to expand their services, so they built a crematorium that could handle as many as 100 bodies per day. 2 110-foot-tall smokestacks were added to the facility to support the crematorium, and Charles had a small home built on the premises where he and his wife resided. Several horrifying incidents occurred at the morgue under the Broughton's ownership. In 1947, the body of famous jazz musician John Figgy Dorsey arrived at Broughton Brothers Funeral Services for preparation. Shortly after its arrival, Charles Broughton reported that the facility had been burglarized, and during the police investigation, Mr. Dorsey's body was found to be missing from the building. The next morning, Mrs. Dorsey woke to find the dismembered body of her husband on her front lawn. Mrs. Dorsey sent her late husband's body parts back to the Broughton brothers to prepare him for a proper funeral. But it's still unknown to this day who committed the heinous act and what would motivate them to do such a thing. Broughton Brothers Funeral Services would operate through the 1950s and early 1960s without incident. However, on April 29, 1965, a highly destructive 5.7 magnitude earthquake hit Seattle. One of the 110-foot-tall brick smokestacks shifted and collapsed onto the west wing of the facility, destroying the top floor. Charles Broughton, who was working in that area of the building at the time, was tragically killed. Henry Broughton survived and would become the sole owner of the morgue, responsible for rebuilding the structure and continuing operations. Perhaps most terrifying of all stories associated with the mysterious Georgetown Morgue was a horrifying incident that occurred on October 25, 1968. All 9 of the Broughton Brothers Funeral Services employees were attending a business meeting in the facility when 2 or 3 armed men broke into the building and bound each of the employees. The men then forced each employee into the incinerator one at a time, where they were cremated alive. There were no witnesses, no suspects, and the crime has remained unsolved to this day. Rumors as to what would provoke such an event attribute the crime to the Broughton brothers' alleged shady business dealings. But with little documentation, even from City of Seattle police records, nothing has ever been truly confirmed. Shortly after the incident, the City of Seattle quickly took possession of the facility, closing it temporarily and ultimately changing the name to the Georgetown Morgue. Eventually, the city would permanently shut down the morgue, gut the building, and put it up for sale. Charles Broughton's wife continued to live on site in the small house next to the morgue until she took her own life in 1979. 10 years later, in 1989, the Richland Processing Corporation purchased the building with the intent of using it as a meatpacking transfer facility. They relocated the smokestack towers to a nearby factory. With a story like this, as fascinating as it is, it's important to acknowledge a more critical point of view. Many believe the story of the Georgetown Morgue is a fabrication, popularized for the benefit of the haunted attraction that exists there today. Skeptics question the fact that there were no witnesses and point to the sparse documentation in police records concerning what has come to be known as the Seattle Crematorium Massacre. But on the other hand, many believe that there's truth to the story about the Georgetown Morgue and the horrific sequence of events said to have occurred there. Proponents of the story point to the city of Seattle's involvement in the events, highlighting the hasty exchange of ownership shortly after the massacre in 1968, along with a series of police records from that same week said to be missing from the archives. Is it possible that the city of Seattle was involved in some sort of cover-up involving the property? Let us know what you think in the comments. Today, the Georgetown Morgue is a popular haunted attraction, open seasonally, attracting thrill seekers from across Washington. Thousands are drawn to the Georgetown Morgue every year to experience walk-through haunted tours and escape rooms. Despite this all being in good Halloween-spirited fun, the knowledge that something more sinister may have actually occurred within those very walls leaves many to wonder if the eerie energy they feel is just for show, or if the spirits of those who tragically met their fate are still around to this day. My name is Scott, and thank you so much for watching. We're a group of curious and passionate humans creating documentary-style content for those who share our curiosity, ask questions, and seek to dig deeper in a world where almost everything isn't quite what it seems. We are Mystery Syndicate. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, leave a comment, and give this video a like. And to be notified when we post new videos, hit that notification bell. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. And for exclusive merchandise, visit our website at www.mysterysyndicate.com. From all of us at Mystery Syndicate, thank you again. We sincerely appreciate your support.